I'm kind of on the ramp, but anyway, nobody is talking about predictive that in a way that needs to be discussed. There people say, "Well, I've got this model." On the few, there's a couple data people that I follow, but I don't interact with them because there's some other things I don't want to mention, but just things I've noticed. My spider sense, Dennis, you've seen it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And I would
Exactly.
like to
Yeah.
meet them in person and have more engagement before I just, where I put my chips on or not, right? Do I want to even bet on the board, much less, continue
Right.
the interaction? So anyway, but just the predictiveness, nobody is talking that. And 5, 6, 10 years, I mean, that's the kind of thing that we need. And I'm seeing this year finding early how predictive is that late. And I find myself wishing I had that research now. This year's, I guess every year's wacky. I mean, it would be nice if we had an injury expert that could tell us about whatever, and just, if, they have this, well, he's going to be out this. It's like, well, of the last 100 athletes that had that, what's been their fate? Have they come back? How many weeks? What is
Yeah.
their production? Their MVP or whatever. How, are they consistent? I have a lot of questions as usual, and I'm not finding it. And it just irritates me, Dennis, that I have to go and do that when I know that if I had interns, I could have this stuff done. I would have, well, that's how I ran my biology lab, right? I have graduate
Yep.
students and,
Yep.
okay, I'm thinking about this, go do that, and I just deal everybody a card and, you know, now some professors are so bad, they'll take one project and give it to some graduate students, say, whoever figures it out wins, the rest of it wasted your time. I mean, that's
Oh,
cutthroat.
yeah.
Now, I would never do that, but in some of the big places and big labs, some of those professors, they don't play. And, you wonder why people, their minds blow up getting a PhD, right? That
Yeah.
Phil Donahue, and I may have told this story before about the mathematician PhD, and he interviewed him from jail. Did
Oh,
you
wow. No,
you
I don't
remember?
remember that.
Okay, so
No.
anyway, Donahue, yeah, we have this person from, and he was a PhD in math, and he was about 10 years in, and he killed his professor, and
Oh,
so they
wow.
got him in there, and Donahue started talking. The guy says, "Well, about 9 or 10 years, I figured that it was logical and correct for me to take a hatchet and kill him, because of the project was going too slow. So that was his solution, was that became it's like Spock's, saying, yeah, it was logical that and this day it's really terrible because we've seen this play out a lot this year in the last couple weeks,
Oh,
and
boy, yeah.
it just, you wonder, people start getting this, and it's just crazy stuff. And smart people can just be wacky too. There's this fine line, Dennis, between.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, going back, I need interns, and and I will treat them sweetly. They will not have to go be mean at me. I will reward them, buy them a pizza and steak dinner. I will be sweet because this is a very stressful thing doing research, and I think if I'm trying to do this full time, I can imagine the pressure some of these people are under. They probably don't. talk about it, but I can just imagine, if you're putting money in your website or you're trying to move up the ranks, and I think we see the people start making noise when they shouldn't because they're afraid nobody's listening
Yes.
to them, and
Yes. Yes.
they kind of overgrind and they kind of get tired. And I just, there's some consequences to be it in this, industry or whatever you want to call it. And I do feel bad for some that I see just kind of through Twitter, and I see they're just begging for things, and it's just, it's not working for them. And then they get cranky, and then eventually you don't see them again. They're just
No.
gone. And I hope
Yeah.
that they're okay. And I worry about that. But if you're a researcher, there is some pressure. And I think if you have a lot of leagues, there is thing, Dennis. I know you have leagues. I have a lot.
Yeah.
You have to balance that pressure. You've got to have a balanced life, and you have a routine and a schedule.
Yep.
And I do things, and I'm not setting my lineup for real on Tuesday. I'm working waiver wires, and Monday I'm thinking about the games. And like this Monday, I didn't do anything but just think about what did I see, and just kind of softly focusing, nothing
Yep.
dramatic, no
Yep.
research, just enjoying a Monday. And then I start, okay, so now I've been doing some work for us, and getting the editor to edit your article. That's the last two articles. They're out, by the way,
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, so they're out, and pretty good. And I mirrored them to the sports affiliate site,
Very cool.
so
Very
people
cool.
are hanging there. And
Yeah.
anyway, going back to interns and the pressure of research, and I think the pressure of having a lot of leagues. Uh, I started out one league years ago, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's something you learn to handle. And I think the longer you go in, like college as a freshman versus a senior, and just,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
test, and you
Yeah.
you could handle so much more as a senior.
Yes.
You could
Yes.
balance, you had your notes, you had your routine, you knew got a test coming here, got this project there, and you had it, kind of figured out. And think about it, a lot of people go to graduate school or go to work, and they're in another kind of pressure. And you've kind of learned, you've got 4 years to learn that, to juggle your thinking and approach. And I think there's a lot of that in fantasy that I don't see a lot of that talked about either.
Yeah.
Predicted this research question stuff we're doing, but just the mental side of learning to handle a lot of information and figuring out what's real and what's not. Now, I want to thank the few that listen. We at least help you focus and show you what we're focusing on, and maybe that helps you.
It's been amazing because there's some seasons, and I noticed this morning. Um, there's some seasons where I never really get into a good pattern and a good routine until, like almost 4 or 5 weeks into the season. And I noticed this morning as I was working on finishing my article, I'm in a groove where I'm every the routine is so set that you kind of roll out of bed and you're doing your research, and then I'll sit down about 8 o'clock and I'll start working on either the ratings or an article, and then come 9:30 ish, I'm done with that, and then it's on to looking at the next thing, which is usually, you know, that first set of lineups, and looking through injuries and matchups and trying to get a feel. And it's interesting. You were talking about, leading into this, talking about Mark Andrews, and so
Yes.
so I did a little mini research project on this morning as I was finalizing up my commentary, on his rating, and I noticed that last year he started sluggish as well, where it was almost 4 weeks until he really got into the season and started being a productive player. It was actually about 5 weeks. And so I thought, oh, this is great. This is time to relax. Everything's going to be fine. Then I looked at something later in the morning after I got my article out and, started looking at the data again, because sometimes when you don't have, this self-imposed deadline of wanting to get the article out, today and stuff, then you have a chance to look at the data again. And the thing that scares me, only one player on that team catching the ball can be productive on any given week. And trying to decide if it's going to be Flowers, Bateman, or Andrews, man. And now you got Hopkins added in to steal some targets. So now it's going to get worse. And I'm wondering if Hopkins isn't taking away from Andrews this year. So that's my instant reaction and concern. The only good news for me is that I ended up with more Kelsey in redraft than any other tight end this year, because I was swearing off of him. I was like, no, I'm not going to take him this year. I'm not going to. 5th, 6th round, and he's still there. I'm like, oh, I can't pass on him again. And I passed on him in the 5th and got him in the 6th on a few leagues where he was just falling. And I'm like, I got to take him. And my backup plan to Kelsey was Tyler Warren. So that's working out quite well. Only one league where I didn't get Warren or Kelsey, and I ended up on Colston Loveland, which has not worked out. In my one league where I ended up, who did I end up drafting? I think I ended up getting Evan Ingram or something like that. And I backed him up last round with Juwan Johnson. And I was like, oh, I'll probably have to cut him and get somebody with a live body in there to back up Ingram. And it worked out. So, those are the weird kinds of things, but Baltimore scares me. I didn't draft any Flowers in redraft this year, have a few in dynasty shares. I didn't draft any because I was like, I'm so worried. Only one player can produce catching the ball, and I'm not sure who it's going to be any given week.
Okay, well, I guess that leads in to share what I did. I just made the graph for tight ends. So let me share. Let's see where you're at. There it is. So let me set it up and then I'll share. So I've got 2 weeks of snaps, touches, and targets. So I went to touches and PPR points scored per touch. And again, I like to look at team level, then position level, then player level. So I decided, well, to get to Andrew's question, I need to look at the tight ends. So I divided it at the position. So I'm in the middle. I started in the middle here. And so now I've got the data for each team and I scaled it to the league average of positional PPR points per touch for that position in each team compared to the average of all 32 teams. So how does a team, are they really, are their tight ends really getting a lot of points per touch or not? And you can probably guess the issue with Mark Andrews, but I don't think you're going to guess the scale. And let me share it right now. So here is the scale. And why don't you look and see if you can spot Baltimore.
Oh, holy mackerel.
Yeah, yeah, Dennis, that is incredibly bad. I mean, that is like it's in another,
Wow.
that's like high school. That's
Wow.
that, yeah, it's minus 20% league average. The next
Eh,
is Pittsburgh
yeah.
and
It, wow.
Minnesota. Where's Hawkinson?
Oh,
Tampa Bay. But
yeah.
those are -7, -9. And you think, 2 weeks, we can, you feel like you could come back from that. But boy, did I get pessimistic about my Andrews shares. And again, I didn't look last year, the first 2 weeks. I haven't done the predictiveness. I just, it's hard for me to see this gets so good that it flips to the green.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the best teams, Dennis, are uh, Jacksonville, the Rams, relative, and the Jets. Now, remember, this is per touch. If you don't give a lot of touches, but the tight
Yes.
ends are efficient, it's going to come across better than doing a lot of touches and not a lot of points. So just remember you have to, you see this on the Twitter and they'll throw some stuff at you. If they throw anything, they'll just tell you their opinion. So as a scientist, you have to, what am I really measuring? So I haven't looked at the snap level. Oh no. So it would be interesting if some of those top teams weren't, or it would be interesting if they were low snaps, in other words, rare, but they were very efficient, or they were the highest snap level and still very efficient. So either way, it would be intriguing. So again, as predicted, more questions emerge as to what's going on. But I just
So,
thought when I'm
so
seeing this, it would just scare me about Andrews.
yeah, so the Rams, I know, have two tight ends or two tight end touchdowns over 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So they've
That
had
helps.
Allen scored. Davis Allen has I think 3 catches on the year and 2 of them are touchdowns. Something
So
crazy like
super
that.
efficient.
Super efficient, but hard to forecast because you're not
Yeah.
sure.
Again, this is not
Yeah,
predictive. This is just looking at what's going on.
yeah, but other teams that are sort of in the running, like Washington and Kansas City and Buffalo, that it all makes sense because they're pretty high up
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting a fair amount of touches
Right.
and snaps,
Right.
to those positions. So that makes a lot of sense. And you know, it makes, but boy, Baltimore is scary because
So
they're
is
not
that,
using him at all.
Dennis? Is that game script? See, you're
I,
left with more questions.
I
Is that Andrews is just not got it and they're having to use him until Likely gets back? In other words, if Likely gets back and things get really better really quick, you know, then that might be something, but I don't know right now. I mean, you can't find Likely's not out there. Everybody's already scarfed him up because, last year there was, I remember about the second week, it was all Likely. He was probably one of the
yes,
highest target, and it
yep,
flopped.
yep,
People
yeah. He
forgot that.
he just
So,
totally fell apart
yeah,
after that big week against Kansas City.
right,
He had
right.
like 26 points, and
Yeah,
then it was nothing
yeah,
after that.
yeah.
But the interesting thing is when Likely's on the field, when he's active,
It
you
may
get a
draw
better
attention.
score out of Andrews.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I'm convinced there's been one change to that team,
yeah,
and it's been the adding of DeAndre Hopkins, who has
yeah.
always been a good
And
red zone target.
Dennis, I have the metrics for all the teams. I just had 65%
Oh yeah, yeah,
is if you look at wide receiver, look who's number one. So
Yeah.
21, Dennis. That is so skewed. Baltimore
Yep.
is so skewed. You see, this is what I'm going to do is eventually, I don't know if I'll put it out, maybe it's between us, but I could sort all this by team again. But
Mm-hmm.
instead of, this of total, this would be of league. And this would show the extreme. So Baltimore is extreme in the wide receiver. It's just crazy.
In there, he hasn't been a high volume of touches,
But he's been efficient.
but Flowers already has 42 fantasy football
Well,
points in
again,
just 2
this is
weeks.
this is catching that.
Yeah, and Hopkins has 25 points, and he hasn't even played a full game.
Yeah.
So Hopkins is taken away from Bateman, and he's taken away from Andrews. I because it's such a low passing volume team.
Yeah.
You can only have one guy.
Yeah.
And that guy is Flowers with a side order of Hopkins.
Right.
Andrews is lost, and Bateman is non-existent. I
And
actually
look at
thought
Pacheco in Kansas City, Dennis, the
oh man,
lowest.
it's been
Look at
pathetic.
that.
And it's not just Pacheco; it's anybody they line
Yeah.
up there
Well, and
has
running
been
back Tennessee,
awful. Yeah,
Pittsburgh, the Saints with Kamara. If he hadn't been efficient with what he's been given,
yeah,
in passing. And look, Baltimore. So Baltimore, if we ran this, would probably be negative, negative, and positive. RB
wow,
negative, tight end negative, and wide receiver positive. As you say, you're catching, we're throwing all our eggs in the basket of wide receivers. Be
yeah,
cautious on anything else.
yeah. And I wonder if some of this isn't teams coming up with a way to stop Andrews in the short passing game.
Yeah.
And now they're getting torched by Flowers.
Yeah.
And the same type of defense that would stop the short passing game
Yeah.
is also limiting.
But
Derrick Henry had a good week first week, and then he had his worst week as a Raven last week. He was so it wasn't even part of the game. Like 2 whole fantasy points for Derrick Henry.
Right.
I mean, that never happened. So, and he got the volume. It wasn't like he was hurt. And I saw 2 points. I'm like, oh, did I miss an injury? What happened? And no, he was there. But look at that efficiency. It's in the toilet. So
yeah. So anyway, again, my question: why do I have to do this? Shouldn't this be available to me for free? Come on.
Yeah.
And
this
some
is good
people, the
information.
few that were listening, they would, well, why don't you share it? I said, well, I'm not paid. And I figured out the minimum, my time, Dennis, they can't pay for it, so this is, I don't know if I'll get around. I wish I did. I just, I got 40 leagues and I got family stuff.
Yeah,
I just don't have time. You know what I'm saying? And
I know
but
exactly what
this
you're
is
talking
stuff
about.
for us because we're in the clubhouse and you're not a member.
But we're teasing
we're
teasing it out, folks. If you're tuning in, you get to see the
I'll
video.
let you know. It's like I'm lifting that curtain. It's like, how come your site's not telling you this and looking at this way? And there's a lot of jabbering going on out there. I bet if we went to Twitter now, we'd laugh at some of the stuff going. And again, Dennis, 2 weeks, but still,
all the rookies are dead. All the rookie running backs are dead. Like, how could we get suckered in?
Yeah, but look at the +9, -6. I mean, look at tight ends, 15, -20.
It'll be interesting to see if this evens out any over the year.
Yeah, look at 21 Baltimore, the Jets 14 minus.
Wow.
So, Rams, Chicago, Jacksonville, those 4 are really have a lot of wide receivers that are not doing what they need to do.
So with the Rams, the only thing that's saving them is the high volume. Like, you're getting such volume.
Well, I mean, if you got one, and the rest
Yeah.
of them suck, and Puka just brings it all in,
Well,
grabs all the marbles, then it's okay. You can keep
well,
winning.
Adams and
Yeah,
Puka
and
are
Adams,
both cashing in,
but the rest of them are
but
not.
it's taking them like 12 targets to
Yeah,
do what they're doing. I mean, if
yeah,
they were getting 6 or 7 targets, they wouldn't be a thing right now.
yeah.
But Kyron Williams has been underperforming at running back. If you look at Rams for running backs, he's getting fed so much volume and he's not
But
producing yet. I
but
mean,
oh, the tie. Okay, running
no,
back.
running
Let's
backs. Yeah,
running
he's
back.
got to be middle of the pack. He's got to be somewhere
Uh,
in the middle of the pack.
well, I don't
I'm
know.
surprised. Yeah, I don't see. Oh,
Right
there he
here.
is. Yeah, he's middle of the pack.
It's average.
Yeah, he's right
Point
at
to
average,
he's right
which
at average.
makes a lot of sense because he's getting a lot of volume and he's just not doing
But
a
look at
lot with it. He's
Barkley.
not awful, but he's not
You would hope
great.
Barkley would be
Yeah,
doing better than 2%.
yeah. Look at A
Bijan
Shane.
two. Whew,
A
yeah,
Shane's just cashing. So is Javante
yeah.
Williams.
Look at them, those two.
Wow,
So
wow.
this gives you some insight into what's gone on and the juggling that teams are doing here. And you can see the running. Her. That's why I drafted him a lot right there to
Low
get.
volume, but high
But the
production. Yeah,
touches, right?
yeah,
Yeah. And look at Jones. He's been doing a lot of running and
yep.
getting points. And Herbert hadn't been doing too bad. And of course,
No,
Lamar Jackson
yeah,
and whatnot. Love has been doing. So there's,
yep.
but this puts it in a different perspective that I don't think people think about. And I think when you get too deep in the weeds with air yards and what
Oh,
was it,
yeah,
predicted scoring per route, I
yes,
saw that. So they're telling us that somebody has done the best in predictive scoring per route.
yeah. And
Does
I'm
that
always
mean
wondering,
that does that mean that's good, or is that they left it on the field? Or I was confused by that.
or is that just meaning that the forecasts for those players have been really off?
Yeah,
Like,
or something. Yeah,
if you were expected to score
yeah,
5 fantasy points and you scored 20, is that what that metric is telling
yeah,
you? In which
yeah,
case, it's not telling you who the best player is. It's
yeah,
telling you which players the analysts are screwing up the
yeah.
most. There's
Or does
so
that
many.
mean they're open and the quarterback's just sucky and can't get it to them?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of weird stuff happening. But anyway, that's some stuff. Every few weeks when I got energy, Dennis, if you'll remind me, I can calculate this and
Yeah.
we can kind of check in again. But
It'd be
this
nice to
is
revisit every few weeks to
yeah,
see
but
where the state
yeah,
is.
I'm just thinking. So if I'm looking for wide receivers, and let's see, Hunter Renfro was so good, but Carolina is not good
Middle of the middle,
overall.
little bit below
So
average. Yeah.
just be cautious. You got a lot of people that are not getting those points per touch.
Yeah.
I mean, Baltimore is just crazy.
Oh,
It's almost the
yeah.
play them all kind of thing, but because you don't know, as you say, who's getting the all.
Yeah, and I'm having, I've got one dynasty team where, I start like 4 flexes and 3 wide receivers. So I've had Hopkins and Flowers in the same lineup, and it's obviously paid off. I mean, it looks dumb when you
Yeah.
see the amount of volume, but I'm just chasing points at this point. I'm chasing upside in big lineups like that. I
Mhm.
just want guys that are known red zone
So
targets
you've
or
got two
producers.
here. Who
Yeah.
is Pittsburgh?
So
Who
that's almost all that that's really DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin that are doing that, which again, but it's a low volume. And the reason that is skewed is because remember they had 4 passing touchdowns game 1.
yeah.
So
Again, this is 2 weeks, and I'm
2
looking at the
weeks of data.
Giants.
Yeah.
That's Neighbors and
That's neighbors.
Wandale
Yep.
Robinson,
Yes. Yeah. And they've
and
had to
look at
throw a lot.
Abuka and Evans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that one I'll guarantee will stick around all year. And so will Cincinnati's because, you know, both of those teams are just, they're going to be gunning. And, you know, Cincinnati has to because their defense is so bad. Tampa's defense is a little bit better, but they're still giving up chunk plays.
Yeah.
And the Giants are really bad. So, you know, this is the week actually. If Isaiah Pacheco does not go off this week for a nice game,
Yeah.
he's dead this season. Like the Giants shouldn't be able to stop him,
Yeah.
but their running attack
But
has
Dennis,
been
something's not, yeah,
non-existent.
something's going on down there with the Chiefs.
No, so when they
The
try to
Chiefs have
run,
been putting it all in their tight
yep,
end and wide
yep,
receivers.
yep. When they try to run up the middle, they're doing okay. When they
Mm-hmm.
try to run wide, if they try to run outside the guards,
Right.
which they've been trying to do, there might be on routes outside the or runs outside the tackle, they might have negative yards for the season after 2 weeks, and that's showing up in this chart. That's how bad they've been running the ball. I mean, they run the ball on 1st and 10, trying to run the ball wide, and it's Mahomes on 2nd and 13. You know,
Yeah.
it's just pathetic how bad they've been. But you know, thankfully, Mahomes has been all world.
So what are we going to do getting full circle to Andrews? I've got him and I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah. So my only Andrews exposure, I think I had Strange as the backup and I just flipped him. So I've been playing Strange, but in one of the, you know, when we get to the regular show, I've got a little thing to talk about in that regard.
Okay.
At both tight end and quarterback, but
okay.
I don't know what to do with Andrews at this point. I can't
You
cut
know,
him.
I think
You
I've
can't
got
cut
him in
him.
about 3 or 4 leagues out of 40. I mean, it's not crazy exposure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boy, the leagues that I got him in, I am out of if the playoffs started to, you know, this week, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's cost me, you know, and I just don't want to be, you know, in the trying to get the playoffs, and he's hurting me. I'm losing 10, 15 points a week.
Yes. Yes.
That's hard to make up. You know, with Strange, you could get half that back.
Yeah, Strange has been okay. He hasn't hurt you because he's right around, you know, 8 to 10 points.
Again, you're not just getting, he's not sinking you.
No. Like Andrews isn't even getting
nothing
catches. So not only is he not scoring points in regular, but he's not catching enough to make tight end premium matter.
If Baltimore is doing what they're doing and doing well, why are they going off their script? See, that's what worries me about Andrews. If they're Hopkins and Flowers and whoever, and you know, and then you know Henry, and you know, if they can just do that, Andrews is just a dead piece. Why do I need much of him?
Yeah, I wonder if they're using him more on the line to chip, you know, to get a block in on guys, so you can hold that open. I don't know. His route percentage is probably down.
Yeah.
So that's scary because he's always been their go-to guy, and now he's not. Now it's Flowers and Hopkins as their go-to guys when they really needed the big play.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work all season. I was leery about Andrews, so I kind of stayed away from heavy exposure, but you know, I had him ranked and I had Hawkinson ranked pretty good, but where they were going in the draft, it just was the luck of the draw that I didn't end up with more. And then I was really big this year on taking a second tight end.
Right.
I in FPPC with the extra bench space, I figured, you know, some wide receiver that we don't count on now is going to emerge. So at the worst case, if I take the second tight end, I can use that roster spot to bring on the wide receiver surprise. Is it going to be Troy Franklin? Is it going to be Aiyana Moore? I don't know who the surprise is going to be. That's why they're called a surprise. But, I figured that was a good roster spot. And my second tight end was almost always Brenton Strange, because I just knew if he stays healthy, he's not going to hurt you. Like,
well, right now,
he's a live body.
Just my number ones, I got 10 Fergusons.
Oh, that's been good.
8 Strange, 6.
That's good.
6 Tucker. I have 6 Andrews.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The Andrews one. So you are the majority of your leagues. You're in good shape at tight end.
And I've got 20 Tongas and 13.
How many of those leagues did you take 2 tight ends? Or did you take just
all
one?
Of them. Okay,
you took 2. Okay.
I was afraid to not take some more tight ends.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that this year is showing us why you need to have depth, even if you grabbed a Bowers or a McBride, grabbing the parting gift towards the end of the draft. I mean, the fact that you could get Strange so late.
Yeah.
Like, I could get Strange 15th round, easy.
Yeah. Right.
He was the go-to guy late to grab, and I feel good about that. I wish I had more Juwan Johnson. That's a guy that in the past I've been, my roster's been just crammed with Juwan Johnson, and I fell for that injury this year. I thought, oh man, he's hurt. He's hurt.
I mean,
he's not going to be
worst
anything.
case, I only have 2 Kittle.
Yeah,
only 2.
Yeah,
but the Andrews with 6 has hurt 6 leagues.
Yeah, I have more on my 18 FPPC leagues, and then my 6 Superflex over on Sleeper. I probably have close to 70% Kelsey. I went all in, but my Kelsey teams, I had some now on FPPC where I'm tempted to play Ferguson in the flex. It's as we've learned over the years playing that dynasty team, having a second decent tight end in tight end premium, it gives you that extra flexibility if you have injuries or bye week concerns. And it's been weird. I had one team on FPPC where I think I played Ferguson in the flex last week because I had Rice and Worthy on the same team.
Yeah.
So I'm out without 2 guys now, but it's just weird. It's been an interesting season. I'm doing well, but I'm not doing great yet. And I always figure after 4 weeks, that's when I know what I've got. And then I always close the gap during bye weeks. Like, bye weeks is where I make my money every year. From, the minute those bye weeks start, I've got a better lineup than my opponent. And that's where I really make my move. But after 4 weeks, I want to have, 18 teams, 20, counting my 2 dynasty teams now. My dynasty orphan is in second place. How about that? That team dealt away all of its draft picks and finished out of the playoffs last year, and I have it second right now. So there was some talent there, but I had to make a lot of moves and picked up a lot of waiver wire moves that have somewhat worked, and I've just maxed out my lineup every week. So I'm off to a good start there. But out of those 20 teams, if I don't have 12 in the playoffs, I will be very disappointed at the end of the year. That's my goal. I want 12 in the playoffs because I want 12 shots at winning some money out of 20 leagues. And, I don't think like last year I had 6 and I put 5 in the playoffs and 2 in the finals.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 3 in the finals, and I won 2 leagues.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that I can do, decent percentages again this year. Um, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Every year is a little different. My teams, I don't think I have a team that's more than 50 points out of the playoffs. Like my non-playoff teams right now are they're within like 40, 50 points. My worst one. So I'm sitting okay after 2 weeks, and I've got a couple in first and a couple in second. So I'm doing pretty good on the top end, and some of my other teams are kind of like they're all in the middle. Like I got a lot of in the middle, and that usually are the teams that move pretty well during bye weeks. So I'm reasonably uh, I'm reasonably happy with where everything is. And on my dynasty portfolio, I think my worst team is 7th in overall points right now.
You can
So
take that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've got a lot of teams towards the top and in my dynasty portfolio. So I'm set up for a good year, but I'm also reminded it's only week 2. Week
Yeah.
3 is coming up. Week 3 can change a lot. But it can also change a lot to the positive too. I mean,
Yep.
some of your slow moving teams, I drafted a lot of rookie running backs this year, and I knew I would get off to a slow start with some of those guys. But by week 6, I figured I would have more starting running backs to choose from than everybody else. And, if it works out, great. I mean, Woody Marks is getting some usage. Monanjay got some usage. So some of those guys are starting to emerge. Obviously, my Jaden Blues are pretty much dead unless Javante gets hurt. But anyway, our TSA league that we
Yep.
did
Yep.
once again showed our late draft season advantage that we have over everybody. That team we drafted very well. Like
Yeah.
that's a really loaded team. Now, if something happens to Lamar, we're kind of cooked, but that's the danger you take when you take a guy like him. But he hasn't missed too many games over the last 4 years,
Yeah.
so
He's pretty
it's
good.
going to be interesting. And he's not running nearly as much as he has in the past, and he's still producing. So that's kind of interesting. He's probably the most efficient runner right now in fantasy football
That is
from a
good.
quarterback position, but ended up with more Lamar than I'd ever thought I would this
Yeah.
year. And I don't know quite why that ended up being the case.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know how much Lamar I had.
I kind of draft with my blinders on where I don't
Yeah.
think, oh, I got too much of this guy. Ended up with quite a bit of Mahomes, more Mahomes this year than last. But
Yeah.
again, it's cheap Mahomes this year.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm spread. I have 11 Loves, 10 Hurts, uh, 7
Dak,
Goffs, and 6 Lamar and 6 Baker.
yeah, that's a good spread. Like
Yeah.
I had one, um, well, 2 Burrow between my
Let's
um,
see, how many Burrow did I have?
between my 24 redraft teams. I
Yeah.
had 2 Burrow, so that didn't
I
hurt me
have
too bad.
one. I have
Yeah,
one.
I have one in FPPC and I had one
Yeah. Yeah.
in that Ballsville game group.
Right.
But those teams are shaping up really good, by the way. Those redraft teams, the
Good.
Superflex redraft over there, I'm in pretty good shape. All 3 of my guillotine leagues have made it through the first 2 weeks with no problem. Um, I'm pretty happy. I drafted a lot different strategy in guillotine than I did in redraft.
Right.
Guillotine, I just stayed away from rookies until late, and I just took guys off of like everybody of my receivers are off of high passing volume teams. Took a really good quarterback. I just said I'm not going to lose based on a bad quarterback week.
Right.
But it's been interesting. I've been in the top 3 scoring in all three of my guillotine leagues in the first 2 weeks. So I haven't even come close to being eliminated, and I haven't really added too many players from the dropped list yet. So I've been outbid for guys, and I don't care. Like, I want to pick up the really good players for the stretch is what I wanted to do. So I'm putting bids in because I don't want to see a Kamara or a Josh Allen go cheap, but I'm only bidding, a small percentage just in case people are on that same strategy. And then when they get eliminated, I'll have more money at the end than the surviving teams. But and it's been interesting to watch because it has played out this way 2 years in a row in the guillotine leagues. The teams that are towards the bottom but stay alive, they have this urgency to overbid every week.
Yeah.
And they've been bidding on the wrong guys. So they've been the teams that exhausted their fab in week one spent high bids in three. The highest bidder in fab money one was eliminated to the three leagues. So it just shows you that you can't be desperate. You have to set a price and have some discipline because you need that money toward the end of the season. You need that if you want to win the whole thing. If you're just worried